There are 4 mistakes that cost our dental clinic hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I'm going to go over them in this video so you can avoid making them. And it's not clinical mistakes, it's not your lack of effort, it's not your lack of patience or fraud or something insurance related. It's not the super obvious ones. I'm going to break down each and every single mistake in detail. And if you own a dental clinic, I can almost guarantee that you've either made these mistakes or are currently making them right now. And honestly, looking back, I didn't even realize these were problems or that there were even problems that I had to solve in order to grow the clinic and not lose hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And as you know, you probably know this, but when you own a clinic, there is pain involved or you're frustrated with certain things. And the pain doesn't usually show up all at once, right? It shows up as a little bit of stress and eventually builds into like a huge mountain. And these stressors that are compounding are the mistakes that you are making along the way. You may walk into a practice, your own practice, already mentally overwhelmed before the day even starts, right? The team may feel like they're all over the place doing who knows what. They're maybe running their own show, doing whatever they want. Marketing just feels inconsistent if you're doing it, or just purely sucks. You don't even know why you're paying for your marketing. Patients are disappearing after new patient exams or consults, or your case acceptances, aside from what insurance covers, is like very low. And a lot of owners, they just normalize this, right? They think this is just what ownership feels like. I just need to focus on the dentistry and maybe things are going to change. Or they say things that are like the constant stress and always dealing with issues and not knowing what to focus on next. And the mental overload is just part of running a clinic. Well, I can tell you that it's not, nor does it have to be. Once I started working on and fixing these 4 mistakes that I'm going to cover in detail, our clinic surely but slowly transformed, both for myself and my team. And don't get me wrong, it didn't happen within a week or a month or many months. It took years of effort. That's the one thing dentists seem to forget, or anybody nowadays really. They think that solutions must happen like snap right away. Well, it doesn't work like that. I wish that it did, but it doesn't. We're all used to immediate results and instant gratification and want to translate that to our like professional or our business lives. Look, realistically, it's going to take you years. But if you stay on the path and you're intentional about improving and growing, you can have any clinic design and any lifestyle that you want for yourself. For example, we're working 3.5 days a week. We close the clinic for multiple weeks a year, including 2 weeks at the end of December, fully closed, so we can all spend time with our families and friends. Plus, I still go on my quarterly vacations, even if the clinic is still fully open. It runs while I'm not there. And we're collecting $400,000 to $600,000 a month. And when we're doing the dentistry that we love to do, cosmetic work, full arch dentistry, sleep dentistry, and even bread and butter dentistry, we're still doing general dentistry as well. It's possible. Anything is possible. You don't have to do what we're doing. The point is, you can do whatever you envision for yourself in your office. And this leads me to mistake number 1, okay? The first mistake was not having a vision. And I don't mean goals. Everyone likes to make goals, especially in the beginning of the year, writing them down and then not doing anything to actually achieve those goals. But when I say a vision, I don't mean declaring we want to grow production or we want more patients. I mean truly understanding what kind of clinic I was trying to build, diving deep into the why behind that. Like, why am I even doing this? What is the end goal here? Because if the owner doesn't know exactly where the clinic is going, nobody else does either. It's like a ship without a captain, right? Release a ship from the dock and just let it float over the ocean. Where's it going to end up? Obviously nowhere, right? It's just going to drift or probably crash into an island or whatever. And that's what a lot of clinic owners are doing with their practice. That's how they are managing their practice. When you have no vision, the team doesn't know the standard or the foundation of your clinic. They're just working to work for the sake of a paycheck. Hiring is usually going to be reactive, not proactive, meaning without a vision, you don't hire with a plan. You just hire to fill in your immediate needs, and you don't have any systems or flow. You eventually end up with a clinic that's busy, but not intentionally busy. Those are 2 very different things. Again, working just to work, one of the biggest realizations that I had was this. When you don't have a vision, your clinic still grows. It just grows in whatever direction the path of least resistance brings it to. And that's usually not the best path for your sanity and your lifestyle, and including your team that work with you. And I think a lot of owners are living in that right now. A team issue pops up and then now all of your energy just goes there and you probably don't even effectively know how to solve it. Or you know what you need to do, but it's all reactive thinking and then reactive action taking. Collections dip one day and then everything becomes about collections. New software company pitches you something and now you're just implementing another system or buying something else. A consultant tells you to add another service and now you're just restructuring the clinic and adding another service around that. Or you're measuring 50 KPIs and you don't even know why you're measuring them. And before you know it, you have 20 different priorities happening inside the business at the exact same time. The team doesn't know what to do. Likely, your team feels overwhelmed. Patients, they just get inconsistent experiences across every single team member. You feel mentally exhausted because every day becomes reactive in nature. It's the only thing you know how to do. And honestly, I think this is one of the biggest hidden causes of burnout in ownership. It's not really that you're working hard. It's a lack of clarity and not knowing what you're working towards and why you're working towards that. When you know exactly what kind of practice you're building, your decisions make a little bit more sense. For example, once we realized this, we knew what we wanted to build was a lifestyle optimized practice. Hence, we work 3.5 days a week. We take multiple weeks off a year, offer dental services that the community has never been offered before in one place. We kill the insurance mindset, help patients actually get healthier and invest in themselves, in the one vessel that actually matters, their own bodies. Plus, we make a positive difference in the community by changing the lives of every team member that works here and changing the lives of many of our patients at the same time. We knew this was our foundation and our vision and what we needed to work towards. Our team knew it and our patients, they could feel it too. And we structure our clinic and professional decisions to actually make that happen. And guess what? Over the years, it came to fruition. The energy inside the office is fantastic. You walk in, every team member loves being there. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not perfect. It's far from perfect. In life, nothing is perfect and it's not stress-free. Stress-free would be boring anyways, right? But we love it. And it's taken a lot of work and consistent work to get there and using our vision as the foundation. And one thing that I've learned is simplicity actually takes more work than complexity. Because complexity is easy, right? The universe just loves complexity. Naturally, it just loves disorder, entropy. That thing we learned in physics, right? Everything descends into entropy naturally. What's hard is actual order. In the same way that it's much easier to let a house get messy than being on top of it and organizing it all the time and cleaning it all the time. You can always add another system, another service, another workflow, another whatever. But the simplicity is what you really need to focus on. And with that said, I'd really recommend you read the book Insanely Simple by Kevin Siegel. Now, this directly leads into the second mistake that I made, trying to figure out everything for myself for far too long. I think that a lot of dentists fall into this trap because we're used to being high achievers, right? And feeding our egos. We're used to solving problems by ourselves. We're used to pushing through difficult things. I mean, we did that for a majority of our lives. So naturally, we convince ourselves, I'll eventually figure it out. I always have. And on top of that, dentists hate paying for things that aren't $50,000 robots or $50,000 scanners or whatever shiny dental technology there is at the time. If it's not a cool dental tool, we're likely not buying it. And I did this for years. And honestly, one of the most expensive realizations that I had was this. The expensive part was not paying for help. The expensive part was how long I waited getting that help. That's what cost me the most at the end of the day. Because when you're inside your own business, every single day, you become blind to these things. You normalize the inefficiency, you normalize the stress, you normalize all the messes, you normalize problems that should not be normal. You're in the trenches, so you just normalize being in the trenches, right? Sometimes you don't even realize how much friction exists in your clinic until somebody looks in from the outside and points it out for you immediately. And by the way, for you guys that love AI, more information or AI isn't going to help you much. Information is everywhere nowadays, right? There isn't a lack of information out there. There's information out there to achieving the perfect physique, the perfect body, or becoming a billionaire. The problem is actual implementation, execution, and accountability, and knowing what to do, when to do it, and how to do it well. That's what good mentorship does for you. A good coach doesn't just give you information. Google gives you information. Claude gives you information. ChatGPT will give you plenty of information. A good coach is going to give you perspective and their own unique experience. They compress time. They help you avoid years of expensive trial and error. And honestly, because you paid for it, you're held accountable to actually doing something. Okay? And one of the biggest mindset shifts of mentorship that it gave me was realizing that most businesses don't grow because they do more things. They grow because they identify the one thing that is creating the biggest bottleneck and they go all in on fixing it, one thing at a time. This changed how I think about running my clinic completely. Before, I was just trying to improve everything at once or just do a lot of shit at once. Marketing, new dental procedures, hiring this person, training, leadership, case acceptance, systems, sales, and on and on and on and on. Just kept going on and on. The problem is when everything is important, nothing actually gets done properly or gets done at all or prioritized. Systems are half-assed or half implemented. Nobody knows what the real priority is. The team doesn't even know what needs to happen. And I actually think this is one of the biggest reasons clinics feel like a pain to operate. Too many moving parts, too many things competing for attention. It's like trying to catch like 5 of these paper balls at the same time. You might catch 1 or 2, but most of them just hit the floor. And that's exactly what most clinic owners are just doing operationally, right? They're trying to improve 10 things at once and then wondering why the team feels overwhelmed. But when the clinic gets clear on that one thing that matters most right now, everything becomes better. The team gains clarity. Whatever you're trying to implement improves. It gets implemented well. Communication improves. Honestly, the emotional relief of that is so important, because ownership becomes mentally exhausting when every problem feels equally urgent. When you finally identify the highest leverage problem, one at a time, it becomes better and it becomes easier. You stop feeling like you're drowning in 10 different directions at once. For the first time in a long time, it feels like the clinic is actually moving forward intentionally instead of surviving the week. Okay? And you can actually catch one thing at a time, right? Now, the third mistake that I made was lack of follow-up, or consistent follow-up for that matter. We do a little bit of follow-up here and there. Call, leave a voicemail when we remembered, and that was it. But that is not true follow-up. And the thing is, if you're not effectively doing it, you're not utilizing money that is already sitting in front of you. And what do I mean by that? Well, we were spending money on marketing, right? We were generating leads. We were having consultations. We were presenting treatment. Essentially, we were spending thousands of dollars and hours of our time chasing new. And we completely ignored the existing. We ignored the patients that we already paid for, that we already put in the hours and the time with them. We didn't really have a system for it. Like I said, it was random. And an afterthought. We just thought we just had to keep chasing new patients. And like many other dentists, probably including yourself, internally we would tell ourselves, well, they probably weren't serious or they're not going to do anything anyways. So I'm just going to move on. But one of the biggest realizations that I had was understanding that many patients are not saying no. They just need a little bit more time or more touch points. They just need a little bit more trust or a deeper connection before making such a large decision. The large majority of patients need 7 to 13 touch points before they make a decision. And this is especially true in dentistry and in implants, cosmetic work, full mouth rehabs. These are all emotional decisions, big financial decisions, fear-based decisions, okay? Like, who likes the thought of paying 5 figures and then sitting in a chair for hours and getting their teeth drilled on? It's a completely different experience to buying a car, right? And walking away with a shiny toy. People, they need reassurance. They need consistency. They need follow-up and a reminder that they're doing this for their future self and for the betterment of their lives, or whatever it is. What really bothered me when I finally realized this was understanding that some of the patients that we thought they were lost were never really lost. We just didn't have a system to keep the conversation going, and we thought follow-up just meant phone calls. And that cost the clinic thousands upon thousands of dollars. Like, for example, watch my quick short video on the follow-up my treatment coordinator did for a patient that we hadn't seen in like almost a year. And he ended up doing $40,000 in dentistry. You need to remember, these are people who already trusted you enough to contact your office and come into your office. Every missed follow-up is potentially like a missed case. Think of it that way. And there are so many creative ways of doing follow-ups. We go over all of these, by the way, in our one-on-one coaching clients. So with that said, avoid my mistake, stop paying to create opportunities, and then letting those opportunities disappear because there's no consistent system after the consultation or the new patient exam. Once we started tightening up the follow-up, we saw even more revenue coming in, more patients coming back, and more treatment got scheduled. And guess what? Marketing suddenly becomes dramatically more profitable because fewer opportunities ended up disappearing, right? And the final mistake number 4, honestly, probably the biggest one, and I hinted at this with the little paper balls in the beginning, so please read that book, Insanely Simple. It was too much complexity. This one took me a long time to understand because for years that I thought that It just came from adding more systems, more workflows, more services, more tools, more of everything. But in fact, it's the opposite. From the outside, complexity can actually look impressive, right? Wow, like look at all that he's doing. But internally, it just creates a mess. If you read the book Insanely Simple, he's going to go over Apple and their obsession with simplicity. One of the biggest reasons they became the largest company in the world was simplicity. For example, Steve Jobs. He would run such tight meetings that one day a random woman named Erica joined their group meetings, usually consisting of like 8 people, because she was told to join by the marketing department. Steve looked at her and then asked, "Who are you? Why are you here?" She says, "I'm Erica and the marketing team told me to attend the meeting." And he responds, "You're not needed here. Thank you." Now, this is an extreme example. I'm not telling you to be Steve Jobs and kick people out of meetings. But the point is, even for something as small as meetings, for such a large multinational company, he'd only have a small group of people in them. There was no waste and no one that wasn't absolutely necessary to being invited to the meetings. Simple, no added fluff. With too much complexity, training becomes harder, right? Knowing what to do just becomes harder. There's so much going on. Accountability becomes harder. And decision-making, as a result, becomes slower. And a lot of owners are living in this right now. And I know this because of the clients that we work with. In the beginning, they all have unnecessary complexity in their clinics. They're doing so much with so many things going on and so much complexity. Nobody even knows what matters anymore, right? And one of the biggest business lessons that I've learned is this. Complexity is often the result of unclear thinking and a lack of foundation. Because simplicity actually requires a lot more effort, right? It requires you to say no. It requires you to become a leader. It requires you to remove things. It requires you to decide what actually matters the most. And honestly, the clinics that scale the best are usually not the clinics that are doing the most things. They're the clinics executing a few very important things extremely well. And I think what most owners are actually chasing is that. Not just more production, not just more money, but a clinic that feels calm, simple, profitable, treats patients well, and is intentional. A clinic where the team understands what the standard is without constant micromanagement from you. And a clinic where patients genuinely feel cared for. On the flip side, a complex business or a clinic just leads to exhaustion. It leads to stress. It leads to the business being constantly dependent on your mental energy to survive because there's so much that needs to get done. And the scary part is most clinic owners are dealing with at least one of these issues right now, whether they fully realize it or not. But once you start fixing them, the entire feeling of ownership is going to change for you. You need to run a more simpler business. Again, if you want our help with any of this, including the simplicity, and you want to invest in yourself and your growth, click the link below. And I hope you took some notes or realized what you need to tackle from this video. Remember, one thing at a time, one paper ball at a time. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.